Well, it's officially crunch time here in the Formula Challenge Series as we get ready for the second to last round of the season. Drivers fighting their way at the top of the standings, ready to battle their way into the highest level open wheel competition on the platform, of course, that being Formula Pro. But here today, they have potentially their toughest test of the season. They'll be heading to Circuit d'Azur on the tight and twisty streets, which I'm sure will be enthralling in all levels of action. I'm Lewis McGlade, Justin Sutton's alongside. And Justin, it's going to be a tricky one to pass. It's going to be survival of the fittest.
Yeah, we thought Donington was going to be trouble, and it was for some people, of course, but this is a whole different sort of animal. We knew the second half of the Formula Challenge Series was going to be a very different sort of challenge for these drivers. Opportunities for overtakes are at a premium in the second half, and there is nowhere where that is more exemplified better than here at the Circuit d'Azur.
Yeah, I mean, whilst overtakes can happen, we'd normally think of it coming from strategy and stuff. But of course, we do know that in Formula Challenge, we've got used to it now that you don't necessarily have to pit. There is no mandatory pit stop. And that is what won last time out, wasn't it? With Risto Capit becoming our fourth different winner of the season.
Yeah, second R8G winner, first repeat winner from the same team, at least. We got that. But yeah, fourth winner in 4 races. And honestly, I'm not betting against a fifth possible winner here today. I mean, 2 of the drivers in the top 3 as it stands right now haven't even won a race yet.
Yeah, including Sander Callis, who had a terrible round. The previous round of Donington Park. Our season has been fairly short. I mean, just 6 rounds across the whole season. We've ticked off 4 of them at Spa, Monza, Daytona and Donington. And we're here at the Circuit d'Azur just 2 weeks until we wrap up the Formula Challenge Series at Laguna Seca. That'll be a very different challenge in of itself. But this is where the drivers are starting to feel that pressure. Certainly with the likes of Sander Callis, who went into the previous round as the championship leader. He finished the first half of the season with 3 second-place finishes, but coming into this, he's lost that championship lead. He's slipping back in the standings, still in the all-important top 3, but coming to here, he's going to be feeling that pressure of that qualifying.
Yeah, and I mean, he was looking so comfortable coming into that 4th round at Donington, as you say. But yeah, he's in a much less comfortable spot. Thankfully for him, it is not the final race of the season just yet. He's got 2 more opportunities to score points. But of course, so do all of his competitors. So every opportunity he's going to be picking up. But qualifying will be hugely important, not just for Sander Callis, but for absolutely everybody here. And also just making sure you're keeping it clean, avoiding any sort of major damage.
Well, everyone sat at home can come along and take part in the Formula Challenge Series, of course, by going through the R-Factor 2 competition system. But let's be honest, that's not all of what the competition system has to offer. Let's take a look. Absolutely incredible variety of racing on the rFactor 2 platform, which you can all come and take part in. So before you can come and take part in Formula Challenge, we've had a fantastic season so far over the 4 races we've had. They've all delivered an excitement, including last time out at Donington Park. Your championship leaders yet to win this season as we get ready to go racing here at Donington Park, and the race up towards Redgate is underway. A lot of wheel spin there from Darius Andres. They're 3 and 4 wide back in the pack, racing their way up towards Redgate corner. You've got one of the Jean Lacey Esports Academy cars looking straight to the inside and make contact with his teammate as well. They're side by side down through the Craners. This is madness. Darius Andre all the way around the outside. A little bit of a brush of the wheels. He's got the inside into the old hairpin. Oh, I think Santa Callis might have gone for a spin, and he certainly has.
Oh, Callis just so twitchy there and doing his best not to. Oh, and there's been contact between the two of them.
He might be on a one-stop strategy because we know Risto Capit's probably going for the no-stop. Jordi's veers to the inside, coming up towards McLean's. Big send, too much though, and Risto Capit does the switchback, comes back underneath, and watch out for Christian McKell. And then it comes Jordi's veers. Oh my goodness, switching it to come, goes through Hollywood, down the inside of the Craners to the outside of the old hairpin. Jordi's veers was coming onto the scene very quickly. They reckon this group might be no stopping. Bit too much for a moment there from Christian McKell. This could be the opportunity for Philip Drive, who's got to the outside, coming down to the Melbourne hairpin. And of course, Mattia Krupi's going to purchase that ticket.
He's coming into the old hairpin, and oh no, he's just up the. Yeah, okay, yep, not his fault.
Being able to keep him off. Darius Andre is into the pit lane. We'll say that Joseph Hurlock lost about 34 seconds in the pit lane transition. There's Mattia Krupi down the inside. He might be too far down the inside. Locks up the rear end. Somehow, oh my goodness, kick of overstick.
He's got Andonovski right ahead of him, but if he can make that move quick enough, then he might be able to focus. Oh, and he's made a huge mistake.
Finding themselves in the same bit of racetrack as Santa Callis goes straight around the outside of Joseph Hurlock. He got Turger Hakkinen as well just behind. The two going side by side through Coppice.
Goes around the outside into the S's and does manage to make that move. He carries more speed than Sandra Collis. They're going to be side by side inside line for Turka Hakkinen as he gets into the penultimate corner here. Sandra Collis trying to stick it around the outside bit, and Risto Capit is already using push to pass early in the left.
Instantly pulls over the side. He's going to let Risto Capit come straight back through. That was into McLean. Yep, fair enough. You two have had that contact. Darius Andre looks to the inside, coming down to the Foggy S's. Big move here, but the Estonian is able to hang on. There's contact between the two, and Risto Capit is still able to hang on to the race lead. R8G are on top once again in Formula Challenge. It's not Andonovski this time, not Henningsen rather. It is Risto Capit on top here at Donington Park. Risto Capit winning the race ahead of Darius Andre, just about across the line. Christian McKell was able to close in to get onto the podium once again. Philip Dries in 4th position with Timotej Andonovski in 5th. And what a round it was. Risto Capit taking the victory, but only just over Darius Andre, who, before the halfway point of the race, it was really his to lose before that spin, courtesy of backmarker traffic.
Darius Andre has just not had the best of luck so far in this season. It's been a tough one for him. Ever since Monza, really, I would say he's had a bit of bad luck. But hopefully, for his sake, things will start to turn around. He's got a couple of races to do that.
Yeah, and like you said, there's not long left in the season, just a couple of races. Plenty of drivers that can take victory in this championship. But the format itself, we've seen it time and time again over the 4 rounds as to how things work in 2022 here in the Formula Challenge Series. As we battle our way up into Formula Pro, the top 3 drivers will find their way into the relegation race of Formula Pro. The 6 rounds, we've already had 4 of them. We've already raced at Spa to start off the season, already raced at Monza, then Daytona before we went on to the mid-season part. The first half of the race, first half of the season was over. Donington, we're here at the Circuit d'Azur today. Laguna Seca up next. And like I said, all battling for promotion into Formula Pro, the highest level competition in open wheels on rFactor 2. Every round will feature a 15-minute qualifying that will set the grid for a 45-minute race that has no mandatory pit stop, and that has played its part massively in the season so far. Dynamic weather, track rubber, and full damage simulation in effect. And we're talking about that third one a lot today. Cars will have to park firmly after qualifying. They can change various little bits like front wings and driver comfort stuff, but each driver will have 45 seconds of push to pass be used through the race, and race control will apply penalties where needed, and they might well need it throughout the day, because race control sometimes need to step in days like this.
Yeah, exactly. Just the nature of the circuit, it's a difficult circuit. It's very difficult to be extremely clean, especially for 45 minutes straight. I mean, it's difficult to be clean for just 1 lap.
Yeah, and this car is not easy to drive, is it? I mean,
No.
over the bumps, lumps and bumps here at the Circuit d'Azur, the Formula Challenge machine will be an absolute beast to drive. 600 brake horsepower coming through that V10, revving all the way up to 18,000 revs per minute. That'll be screaming on the run down towards Saint-Dever. Of course, they'll be needing push to pass. Be saving that up for later on the race. 190 mile an hour of top speed. Certainly not getting up to that around a tight and twisty street circuit like this. 600 kilos, no DRS. That's where the push to pass is really going to be required. Ground effect to keep them stuck to the road and to not spit out any of that horrible dirty air, so they can follow really, really close and get nice and tight for those big dive bombs which they're going to be needing today. Custom setups, of course, which will be very highly talked about today, just between all the drivers. Very high downforce around here. Shift protection over the 7-speed gearbox, so you can't blow it up. Don't panic too hard. 4 tyre compounds. It'll be soft, medium, hard, and then the wet tyre with updated tyre degradation, which will cause its fair share of problems, particularly on the rear tyres around here. We've seen this car deliver time and time again in Formula Challenge, at least when it comes to exciting racing. Even though this is a tight circuit, I suspect today will be no different.
You got me really scared there for a moment when you talked about the wet tires, because I hadn't even considered the possibility of a wet race up until that very moment. And now that you've mentioned it, I'm terrified about any possible weather. But, you know, it's summertime, south of France. I'm sure it'll probably be lovely.
Yeah, let's take a look at that circuit that we're racing at around today. We all know it. It's tight, it's twisty, it's hard work over the 3.3 kilometre run. 19 unrelenting turns, racing their way around time and time again over the 45-minute race. It's going to be breathless for the drivers. It is going to be 45 very, very, very sweaty minutes. But we've got qualifying to deal with before that, which we know around here is going to play a major role in the evening's action.
Most important qualifying session of the season, no doubt about it. And for the likes of Sander Kallas, who is on that bubble coming into this event, sitting in 3rd position, he wants to hang on to that or improve it, and he can do that. Actually, he's only 5 points behind the last race winner, Risto Capit, who won last time out at Donington, and then only a further 4 points behind Christian Mikel, who has, just like Sander Kallas, yet to win a race so far in this season, and yet leads the championship.
Yeah, Sander Kallas, of course, has had 2 pole positions this season. Had pole position in the very first round of the season back in Spa, and had pole position last time out at Donington Park. So looking to potentially secure a 3rd of the season to try and look for that first victory. And the other 2 pole positions have gone the way of Jean Lacey Esports Academy with Mattia Creepy and Joseph Herlock, who also are feeling quite confident. I've been told that Creepy's feeling more confident than Herlock, but still confidence within the camp. No Jordi Zviers today, though, as we'll ride on board with Casper Nizio up towards Massenet, and this is going to be tricky. You know how narrow it gets when the barriers come in. You drop it down a couple of gears to 4th. That's a little bit too wide through Massenet, picks up the 2nd apex well, though, goes through Casino, kick of oversteer down the hill before we head down into Portier, drops it down into 2nd gear before we all get ready for that hairpin. Turn it in and just hope it sticks. Only a couple more corners before we can have a little bit of a breather on that run towards the tunnel. Casper Nizio's not looking super strong at this point in the session, Justin, but still, you don't necessarily need to get a 110% lap in now. Just back it off a little bit, just get a decent lap onto the board.
Yeah, room for improvement, no doubt about it. I'm sure Casper is going to be thinking the same sort of thing. Nicely through the chicane, though. That's one of the cleaner parts of this lap as he makes his way into Tabac. My favorite part of the circuit, carrying so much speed, running right up against the barriers at the inside and outside of the corner, now through the swimming pool section, where, again, using all of that curbing, running very close to the barriers as well. A couple of corners remaining. I saw a bit of understeer coming into play there right as we cut away, and there is Darius Andre, one of the unluckier drivers of this season so far, as I mentioned earlier, but clearly has had incredible pace all season long.
Yeah, and like I said, had an incredible, to be fair, I'm still going to say it, even despite that spin, which wasn't really his fault, has had an incredible race at Donington Park. Was properly the dominant force. Oh my goodness me, through to back. That was a massive moment from Darius Andre. You can see that was reflected in the sector splits. Lost so much coming down into the Rascasse and up towards Anthony Nose, the final corner of the racetrack before they punch it out towards the line. That was a massive moment.
Yeah, unsurprisingly, losing a lot of time through that. But a good final sector, actually, for him. Is going to claw a little bit of time back, get himself a decent time on the board. Risto Capit, though, is another driver who seems quite on it, and no major mistakes for him through Sector 2, and that's going to be in the 1:13.5, a good lap from Mr. Cabot.
Yeah, expect, of course, in a week's time we come around here in Formula Pro with the 800 brake horsepower, the pace will be a little bit faster, although not as much faster as you would think. You don't really get that much time to really use that 800 brake horsepower. This would be the circuit where we're expecting the times to be super close. Did you notice how Risto Caput didn't skip the that massive jump on the exit Casino?
Yeah, it's an interesting choice from him. I mean, he must have done comparisons, side-by-side comparisons to find out. And maybe it's just, a case where in qualifying he can go for that, but during the race maybe he will be trying to avoid that bump. But that is the kind of nuance that you need to be sort of exploring if you want to be successful in Formula Challenge. Oh, something is going on there. Yeah, the pit entrance there. I'm not sure if they're fighting or loving each other, but yeah, something's happening at the pit entrance.
Yeah, just remember they can't escape on circuit. They must return to pit lane, same as it is in Formula Pro. They've got to return their way all the way around to get into the lane to save themselves from receiving a penalty, and that's why they will come around. But clearly there was an issue on pit lane entry. Here's Jimmy Nisseler out into that barrier. That was a little bit of a touch. He might well get away with it. He also didn't miss the lump, but he did miss the apex coming down to Mirabeau, so that one will cost him a lot more time. Do know with that lump. From Jimmy Nisseler. I've seen clean laps from Jimmy Nisseler. This is not one of them. But that lump in sim racing, they avoid it in real life because it'll break the cut, obviously. Yep. But the fastest line is to have a directly straight line from Casino down to Mirabeau. Now in sim racing, in this, you can get away with going over it. You don't compound the suspension in the same way. You don't break the suspension in the same way. So you can afford to just run over it as long as you can keep hold of the wheel.
Yeah, exactly right. So he's doing everything he can. Oh, and, there's some more context for Nisseler. Not as you said, not been the best lap for him. We've seen some good laps from him so far this season, and this is probably not one of the best ones that we've seen. Also, if I'm not mistaken, that little bump in the road, I believe, is the train, the underground train.
I don't know if it was a train. It's definitely a tunnel. I don't remember what it was, but there is a tunnel underneath. That's why it's raised like that, if memory serves. That said, I've not been to this part of the world, so that's another bit of contact there for Paul Auguste Lana out into the barrier. Of course, teammates of Darius Andre and that Volante Racing camp still looking decent through the sector splits, and we'll see what Lana can do up towards the line. Just one more corner to tick off as he'll punch his way out and aim for somewhere in the 13s. If you can get into the 13s, you'll be somewhere up the order, and as he crosses the line, it's just about a 14, but still, 4th place, not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. A few tenths off of what we saw from Mr. Caput earlier on. There you can see the timings on your screen, and you can see actually Risto Caput. It's no wonder he was purple in all 3 sectors, but he does have a significant advantage over the rest of the field. And in fact, this is the man who currently sits second quickest, Turkka Hakkinen, taking lots of inside curve there through that first corner. Very aggressive. And it's no wonder why. We're coming up to the halfway point of this qualifying session. So these drivers are really running out of time to put in a good clean lap. Oh, man. He's going over the bump as well, too.
Have you seen how much lock Turkka Hakkinen has put in? Watch this. Bang. Wow. I saw it coming through the through Casino. And even there, as we head down towards Portier, this is actually Portier. I said it was a couple of points before. We'll gloss over that one. It's fine. Put in 180 degrees worth of lock. Turkka Hakkinen doesn't care about these tyres because it's qualifying. They throw these tyres in the bin and get some fresh ones. I doubt he'll be racing this hard in the... Oh, yeah, that's way too much curb.
Yeah, turned in too early, I think, for that one. Just picked up a little bit too much of that orange curbing at the inside. Lifted that front end up, and there's no kind of understeer like when your wheels aren't touching the ground, and unfortunately that's pretty much going to kill that lap. There is someone coming up right behind Turkka Hakkinen, but unsurprisingly he's going to pull up into the pits, get rid of those tires, and I'm not surprised at all with the way he was abusing them.
Here's Jelle Binsbergen, Jean Lacy Esports Academy, one of the 4 drivers they've got out in action today. Takes a little bit too much curb through the final part of the swimming pool section. Sectors are okay, considering the large gap as Martin Derlin goes to 7th. Considering the large gap between Risto Caput and Turkka Hakkinen, still might put him somewhere inside the top 5. What does Jelle Binsbergen do across the line? It is only good enough for 10th, lost a decent amount of time in that 3rd and final sector. Interesting to see as Philip Dries goes up into 2nd. or is in second position at the moment, now ahead of Turka Hakkinen. Christian Mikel still in the pit lane, waiting for the timer to tick down, waiting to go out at the final moments of the session to have that real final push lap.
Is that 0.003 of a second that Trace just relegated Hakkinen with? It's a very small number, I can tell you that much. But yeah, it's still a sizable gap to Risto Capit. I have to say, I'm surprised about that one. Still holding on to a very nearly half-second lead, which, especially for a lap this short, is especially impressive.
Yeah, really is. Darius Andre might put an end to at least that being half a second. I don't know if he could challenge him for pole. First sector's okay. Second sector lost 0.3 of a second. And Darius Andre at the final corner, looking to get himself onto the front row of the grid. Looks good to do it, but only good enough for sixth. Lost 0.3 in that final sector. Yeah, it's a super lap from Risto Capit. And that's the big time where I say I once defended an entire race from Risto Capit around here. Thus proven you can't overtake. It was a reverse grid race, so definitely didn't out-qualify the Estonian. But still, yeah, you can defend around here, even if you're as slow as me.
I can't imagine Risto liked you very much after that race.
Oh, I still think he's blocked me on all forms of social media. That was 6 years ago. He still hates me.
Yeah, I'm not surprised about that one. I can't blame him for that. Lalu at the moment in the lower half, the bottom half of the grid as it stands right now, but looking to improve on that. A little more than a couple of tenths off in the first sector. Nicely through the Nouvelle chicane, powers down towards to back, carrying good speed, running right up to the barrier there, using the curbing at the inside of the swimming pool section there, and avoiding running too far. But again, quite slow compared to Risto Capit's time in Sector 2. He is going to finish this lap, though. Just one final corner to navigate, and he's going to power down to the line. And I have noticed the line is a little bit further down than you might expect, but there it is. It's a 1:14 for Lalu, so he does make an improvement, but still just outside the top 10.
Well, I say for Yuka Lalu, it was a really clean lap, and unfortunately, clean laps aren't what you need around here. You've got to send it over the curbs big style, and it's what we've seen from a couple of drivers. Some of them playing it a little bit too safe. Confidence is king around here. Sido Wire, who's currently on our screen, of course, normally drives for the Zancho Simsport team. At the moment, down in 19th position. It's the first time. Is it the first time that we've seen Sido in the championship? I believe so. Obviously, he's had a race win in GT Challenge, if memory serves. Again, trying to really use my memory now, because I'm pretty sure it was back in season 2. It was at VIR, but that was a very long time ago, well over a year. Sido Wire has been between victories on official R Factor 2 competition, but still down the order in just 19th. I don't think he'll be winning from there today.
No, a lot of oversteer through the final couple of corners. I don't know if he's just overheating those tires throughout the course of the lap. This looks like a pretty quick one from Vincenzo Falco. I thought the line was earlier. Once again, I'm still not used to it. Goes into the 1:15, so a ways off the pace. Not the best Sector 3 for Vincenzo, but still nobody getting too close to Risto Capit. But we are running very, very close to the end of the session. Just a few minutes remaining. I am expecting a lot of drivers to be coming out now in the next minute or so.
Here is Rory McDuff, who told me before the broadcast, he was like, no, it's not that hot where I am, of course, in near Boston. He was like, yeah, it's not too hot, and then worked it out. He's like, oh, it's 28 degrees Celsius. I was like, that's pretty hot, mate. That's pretty toasty. But still, clearly not bothering the poor man. One of the drivers who's fairly far up there in the championship. I don't think he's got a time onto the board in this section just yet. And so for Rory McDuff, not looking super fast around here and not feeling super confident, he told me he's just going out for a bit of fun today.
Interesting. I mean, he was going quite well until, if I remember correctly, a bit of an incident last time out at Donington. In fact, I believe it was right at the beginning of the race that Rory McDuff had his incident. And unfortunately, he did not score very well at Donington, only 37 points. But he's had a pretty good season otherwise, so I can imagine that's maybe a bit frustrating coming into this race with a poor performance at Donington and knowing that he's probably not going to perform that well at the Circuit d'Azur. But he's going to have to get on with it, do his best, and see if he can get any closer to that all-important top 3.
Yeah, he's had 3 top 10s this season in the opening 3 rounds of the season before he had that fairly poor round last time out. Way too much curb. Max Verstappen will be a fan of that one. I've seen that one a couple of times from the world champ, taking way too much curb at the final part of the swimming pool. This is on board with Joseph Herlock, the pole sitter, of course, from Daytona. 23rd is definitely not what he was looking for, and a second down departing the final corner. I don't think this is going to be anywhere near the top 10. It's the 13th position, losing out an awful lot of time at the moment.
Yeah, 1.2 seconds off the pace, but he's less than a second away from Mattia Krupi, who now sits in second position. So somebody has managed to get less than 4 tenths away from that time that Risto Capit set. And incredibly, I don't think Risto is all that concerned about anybody beating it. He's not coming back out, and it looks like he's going to be done with the session.
Yeah, same as with the likes of Christian Mikel, Darius Andre, Turka Hakkinen, Philip Dries, all remaining in the pit lane for the final minute of the session. They're not getting back out. Giordano Valeriano returns to pit lane from just inside the top 10. So a lot of the drivers already completing their session. You know, obviously coming to a close, not really trying to push the limits too hard around Monaco. You've got to make your laps count, though, and they did earlier. And Risto Capit certainly making the most of that.
Yeah, extremely, absolutely. Risto Capit doing a great job so far. And I mean, for someone like him, being a bit of a no-stop specialist this season and in other seasons as well too, it's especially concerning to see him starting from the front like that, because I mean, it's not over just yet, but if he does indeed start from the front, I think it's going to be especially difficult to overhaul from the lead, as Paul Augustin Lana makes a bit of a hash of the swimming pool section, and I don't know if this is going to be improvement. No, he's going to continue on.
He's still going to give it a good go towards the line. Is there going to be any final improvement from Paul Auguste Lana, the final driver to really finish up there in the order? But still, I've got to say, qualifying in 5th spot, super effort for Paul Auguste Lana. That is the best qualifying from him all season so far. So a brilliant effort from the Volante Racing driver, way ahead, 2 positions ahead of his teammate Darius Andre. Still massive.
But I mean, nearly a full 10th ahead of Darius Andre. So yeah, it might only be 2 positions, but a full 10th around a circuit as short as this one, really hugely impressive if you ask me. Mancini is actually on a quick one, was personal best in Sector 1, personal best in Sector 2 as well.
Could well improve up inside the top 10, which would be a great effort from the MotoGP Esports team. Of course, they raced in Formula Pro last year, wide a little bit out of the final corner. Antonio punches it towards the line, and will it be a top 10? Yes, it will, up to 9th spot for Mirko Mancini. That is a super effort late in the session.
That really is. That's a heck of a lap. A really good Sector 3, clawing some of that time back, getting himself into that top 10.
I've got to say, really impressed there to, like I say, dealing with the pressure of doing a lap right at the end, even though it's psychologically, you're on a lap, right? You're on the same lap as people have done before, whether it's their last lap of the session. Yeah, they'll know if it's their last lap or not. To have the pressure, though, the time has ticked down to 0. It's just you versus the track. And also, you know, at the end of the session, if you're the only one on circuit, there's a broadcast on, you know that you're going to be the focus of our attention. Super effort from Mirko Mancini to move up inside the top 10. But here is your qualifying order. Risto Capit will start from pole position after that victory back in Donington Park. He'd start alongside Mattia Krupi for the John Lacey Esports Academy. Philip Dries and Turka Hakkinen on row number 2, with Paul Auguste Lana inside the top 5 for the first time in Formula Challenge. Christian Mikel, will be talking about him a bit later on in the broadcast. Got a new livery for this round with a thank you Christian on the side, as he'll be waving goodbye to the Sector Velix team at the end of the season. Darius Andre inside the top 10 as well. You can see Jelle Binsberg and Yuka Lalu up there. Roy McDuff down in 17th position. Yimi Nisolo, we were catching up with him through the session, struggled really with his lap. Joseph Herlock, though, 14th position on the grid, as we'll see our final few. Daniel Stepkowski watch further down the order as well. 22nd position, we normally see him up inside at least the top 15. Big drama already. That's what we expect around a circuit like this.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. And it's going to be important to the championship as well, too. And we can see exactly why.
Yeah, Christian Mikel leads the championship, 285 points. What a super drive it was from him at the last round at Donington Park, moving his way from 15th up onto the podium. Risto Capet, the race winner last time out, in second position with Sam McAllis. 3 second-place finishes to start the season, third place in the standings. You can see the rest of them as they're going on. We're really looking for those drivers to get themselves inside the top 3 in the standings to go into that relegation playoff race. And with just 2 rounds left to go, you can see it there in the top right. Circuit d'Azur, Laguna Seca. Those are the last 2 rounds of the season, and that starts here. This race could not be more poised. It's going to be a very tricky race indeed, and Justin, 45 minutes around here is going to be breath. You know, everyone's going to be holding their breath for the entirety of that 45 minutes. It's going to be so difficult.
It's going to be absolutely exhausting. I mean, it's going to be exhausting for us commentating, never mind for the drivers and what they're having to deal with all the force feedbacks and strategies and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a really tough one for them, and I absolutely expect we're going to get a pretty sizable amount of retirements.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to tell publicly, but you know, you can have some fun in the chat as well. How many finishes do you think we'll be having from this race? We'll have our picks behind the scenes, but let's not forget, these are drivers that are looking to book their place up into Formula Pro. They do know what they're doing. As much as Donington Park bit quite hard, here you'd expect it to bite harder, but hey, looks to be deceiving.
And they're going to be prepared. You know, they're going to be thinking about that sort of thing when they're practicing, when they're driving Circuit d'Azur over and over again in practice. They're going to be thinking not just about speed, but about consistency and making sure that they're not having any catastrophic mistakes. Obviously, more front wings were shed during qualifying, probably on a per lap basis than what we're going to see in the race, but still the drivers are going to have to be careful.
You can see there the brake marker on the right-hand side of the screen, 150 metres. That is the race towards turn 1. It is not a long run. Getting this start right, though, is crucial. It is a bumpy surface. It is not a grippy one. And for Risto Capet, his eyes will be looking for a second consecutive victory here in Formula Challenge. Who will be able to beat him, though? That is the question. Mattia Krupi looks to get himself trying to fight his way back up inside that top 3. Already some smoke from, I think that is Darius Andre, 7th in shot as we get ready to go racing. 45 minutes onto the clock. The Formula Challenge Series is getting ready for its penultimate round here at the Circuit d'Azur as we are underway, racing our way towards turn 1. Plenty of smoke from a lot of drivers after a very long hold, but a clean launch from Risto Capet. He'll be leading from Mattia Krupi, bit of side-by-side as Paul Auguste-Lana loses out to Christian Mikel at the first corner as we race our way up to Massenet for the first time. Mattia Krupi was looking hungry, but wasn't able to get past the Estonian as we head through Casino Square.
I'm sure he was just hoping for a poor launch from Risto Capet, you know, a mistake more than anything else, because of course so difficult to try and force that maneuver, especially on the opening lap. But he was going to go for it and just hope for the best. And he's going to hold on to second position for the meantime, but Mattia Krupi is going to be looking to gain at least, or he's going to gain 1 position in this race if he can apply enough pressure. But look at this, actually, Risto Capet starting to break away. He's really flying out there now.
Yeah, got to watch out though, because obviously it's the smoke coming off of the cars behind. So Philip Dries is being distracted a little bit by this smoke coming off the rear end of Mattia Krupi's car. Essentially, that is the car overheating. It's overheated from being stationary on the grid. It is not the only car to have been done so. You can see as he lifts off the power going through the swimming pool section, the smoke cuts off. As soon as he gets back on it, boom, there it is. Now, this isn't terminal. If they can cool the engine enough, it will be fine. The problem is you don't have that long to cool it down. You can see there's already a couple of issues as well. Darius Andre said before on the grid, he's another one with it smoking away. I think Van Vukas as well in 12th spot, another one smoking away. They'll be panicking. They'll be very mindful of their engine temperatures right now.
And that's really not what you want, obviously. Although it seems that Krupi has managed to get that under control pretty quickly. So maybe we'll see the same from Darius Andre the next time we see him in shot. But Krupi has unfortunately already lost more than 1.5 seconds through all of that. And there it is. It's back again already.
Yeah, of course, essentially the faster you go, the more air you get into the car, the faster it cools. And so that's why, in a lot of the slow speed stuff, the temperature can rise back up again enough for it to start smoking. By the time you've gone through the tunnel, you've accelerated out of the Vale chicane and come through the swim pool section, which is quite high speed, obviously very high speed with the re-profiled second chicane here. It should give the car enough time to cool itself down that by the time they go through Mirabeau and the hairpin again, that it should be cool enough. Darius Andre, as you rightly said, would potentially be in that same boat. See a little bit of smoke here as they've slowed it down. Once they get towards the end of the start-finish straight, should calm itself down again, but still it is going to be a bit of a concern. Less so for Darius Andre, more so for that car that is sat directly behind, which of course in this scenario is Valeriano.
And of course, with pit stops not required, not necessarily guaranteed to happen or anything like that, that means that the cooling becomes even more important out on track to make sure you're lifting off the throttle early enough on the doing whatever you can, upshifting early, whatever it might be. But yeah, Valeriano is going to be frustrated with that one. I wasn't sure if it was Paul August Lana or Darius Andre at first that was smoking, but yeah, it's definitely Darius Andre. So he's going to be looking to get that under control as quickly as he can. Thankfully, he's not losing a lot of time, not in the way that Krupi has, although Krupi has started to close that gap back down to Kappa now.
The thing is with Risto Kappa, he is well experienced enough to kind of understand how to hang on. Essentially around here, I know it sounds simple when you put it as bluntly as this, but if you don't make a mistake, probably won't be passed. And Risto Kappa's a wily old fox. He is the Iceman, of course, of this neck of the woods. He'll just be remaining calm. We just taking some nice deep breaths right now. Also, didn't even really notice this, but in Formula Pro, they had a change of livery for the RHG. They've been rebranded for 2022, and halfway through the season, but still halfway through the year. But they have been recently rebranded. Obviously not having the same one dished out to Risto Kappa. Clearly, the RHG team don't like him.
Yeah.
That's me just trying to create fire. It's fine.
Yeah. Exactly right. They said we'll give you the updated livery if you can win at Circuit des Azur. So Mattia Krupi continues to close in. He's now very close to within 1 second. Again, remember there is no DRS, everybody. So that 1 second gap doesn't actually have any major significance other than just eliminating one of the digits from the gap between the two cars. But he is getting closer and closer, and he's going to start to pick up just that little bit of extra straight line speed from being behind. But remember, ground effect coming off these cars, less dirty air, less slipstream effect. Looking backward at Christian Mikel, currently leading the championship and one of the two drivers in the top 5 that has yet to win a race so far this season. So he's going to be someone that is maybe hoping to move up, but 4 positions to gain around this circuit, that's a tough one.
To be honest, I think he'll be all right with 5th place. He's got, let's say, one of his old teammates, Turka Hakkinen, directly ahead. He's got one of his current teammates, in Philip Dries, a couple of positions ahead. Of course, they work together in endurance racing and stuff. Just by the way, obviously, we can see the blue highlights here. Again, thank you, Christian. We bring this up a little bit on that grid rundown, the results rundown from qualifying, that Christian Mikel will be leaving Septres Nitavellix at the end of the season. It was Dennis Lind with giving a big salute on Twitter earlier on in the week to Christian Mikel. Obviously, a big shout out needs to be given to Christian. He's been a part of that squad for 4-5 years. I asked him where he was going. He said there is a plan, but I can't tell you yet. So we'll be finding out, I'm sure, in the near future as to what's going to be happening with Christian Mikel. Did see the tyre graphic pop up as well. Pretty much everyone's on the soft, as would be expected, except one driver who has gone onto the hards, which I would question very much. And it is, of course, Brantholm, who is on screen right now on those green sidewalled hard tyres. It is going to be a difficult day. Tyre wear, though, around here is a bit higher than you'd expect. I will say that.
Just low, maybe low speed. Is it the rears, I assume? Is it a rear limited circuit, you'd say?
It is indeed, yes. No, I remember painfully that particularly around those final 2 corners, because it's very bumpy, right? As you go over some of the bumps, particularly in that final section coming out over the Raskas, it can be at a point where your inside your rear right wheel isn't actually making contact with the road for a little bit, and it just spins up, it just overheats, and it's kind of one of those ones that's negative feedback. The hotter it gets, the more it spins, and then it gets hotter, and then it spins more, gets hotter. Exactly, it's uncomfortable.
It's a positive feedback loop, and those bumps obviously are quite accurate since this is the laser scanned version of this road.
Certainly is, and for me, I'm a big fan of driving this circuit. I know some people aren't, which each to their own. Some people it's not their cup of tea. I absolutely love racing around the streets. It's a challenge which you cannot get anywhere else, and when it's laser scanned like this, it's a lot of fun. When you hook it up right, it's a lot of fun. When you don't, yeah, you want this even to be over very quickly, and it probably would be.
Mattia Krupi getting very close to the back of Risto Capit. He certainly seems like he's piling the pressure on. Oh, and his engine is feeling it as a result, as the smoke is billowing out the back of that V10.
Yeah, gotta say, I'm surprised it's turned itself back on. The smoke re-overheating the engine. I expect it on the race start, but not midway through the stint. Speaking of race starts as well, definitely getting ready to take a look at that race start. Lots of cars smoking. Great launch from Risto Capit. Everyone else chasing behind. Valeriano on board with trying to look to the outside of the Sector 15 Developed car of Christian Mikel, who managed to get all the way around the outside of Paulo Giuslana and get himself up inside the top 5. Gotta say, I think that was a lot cleaner than everyone was expecting.
yes, 100%. I expected at least a wing to be shed or something like that, but no. Oh, there we go. That's things getting a little bit more exciting for us there, but yes, a really, really clean start to the race, and it was really impressive the way, especially that Capit pulled away in the early stages, almost 2 seconds before that.
What has happened to Herlock, to Darius Andre, to Jelle Binsbergen? There has been an issue towards the back of the top 10. Darius Andre, who's had, you said before, the bad luck, I think that is continuing. Jelle Binsbergen, I believe, is the causer of the yellow flag in Sector 2.
Interesting. I wonder if we're going to be getting a replay on that one as Mattia Krupi deploys a bit of push to pass on the climb up the hill there. Wants to just get a little bit closer to Risto Capit. Valeriano using some push to pass as well too. It seems this is really where the drivers are starting to get a little bit more aggressive and starting to think about taking those positions. Whoa! Right up to the back of Risto Capit.
Yeah, certainly got the part number of the rear wing from that one. My goodness me. Mattia Krupi is right there. There is Jelle Binsberger, Darius Andre out of the race. Oh my goodness. After such a good drive last round, did Darius Andre put on. This time, not so much. A retirement, and the first retirement here at the Circuit d'Azur. Let's see what's happened as Darius Andre racing his way down to the Nivelle chicane. Oh my goodness, that is so easy to do. Of course, everyone's stacking up. 2 of the Sean Lacey Esports Academy cars. Everyone coming through. Yellow flags are out, sure, but as you come round, it's completely blind there. The rear of the car, it is kind of one of those things that you don't really think about, but the rear of the car is ever so slightly wider than the front. And as you turn in as well, of course, the rear tyres will follow roughly where your front's going through there. You want to hook the fronts up as close as possible. But if you do so, guess where your rear is going to be? On the wrong side of it.
Yeah, you can actually kind of see it. The fronts are almost flush with the bodywork, but then if you compare the bodywork to the rear tires, you can see there's maybe 10 centimeters or something like that, just extra. And yeah, he just clipped that rear wheel coming into the Nouvelle chicane, and unfortunately for him, that is going to be a race-destroying event. That is going to have an absolutely catastrophic effect on his ability to have a successful race here today, especially because we're having so few retirements. Again, I really did expect to see at least a couple of retirements after 10 minutes into this race, but the drivers seem to be really well prepared for this challenge.
Yeah, obviously only retirements being Martin Zella and Darius Andre, who, let's say for Darius Andre, I mean, it's not just about the race here, it's about the championship, about getting inside the top 3, which I think that effort is completely dealt with. We won't be seeing Darius Andre in the top 3 of the Formula Challenge Series in 2022. You can't afford to drop around like that. Let's see what happened to Rory McDuff. This is with Stepkowski, straight around the outside of Massenet, straight into the Barrett Massenet. Guess who's there? Oh my goodness me. There is another car just parked, just waiting. Well, that was a bit of bad luck from Rory McDuff. What have we said?
Yeah, that was a tough one there. Unfortunate for Rory McDuff trying to go around the outside. It was looking like a really nice, clean move as well too. I was about to applaud him, and then it turned to tears of sadness.
That happens though, as we'll see Kostas Van Vukas, who's in ninth position, just recently lost out to the Musto GD Esports driver Mancini, directly ahead as we head our way through Massenet, through Casino, and then back down the hill once again. Already nearly 15 minutes ticked off in this race. It is flying past. Risto Capet's well in control. The push to pass though is being used from Mattia Krupi. He is right on the rear end, running down to the Belgian game. Now, let's remember, I know it was late in the race, but Risto Capet, when he won at Donington Park, he did receive a little bit of a bump from the rear, and I've got to say, Darius Ondo was very respectful and did hand the position fairly back to Risto Capet. But Capet will be looking at his mirrors being, not again, come on. Let's not do it not as early, because it would give him a lot of damage, which would be very hard to wrestle around with.
Yeah, exactly right. Especially this early in the race. I'm sure he's probably thinking, you know, can we wait at least 25 more minutes before we have this battle? Because at the moment, I would much prefer to just get a little bit further into this race and just feel a little bit more comfortable. But of course, Mattia Krupi down in 6th position coming into this race. He just wants to pick up the win. He is not that far off of getting into the top 3, and a win here at Circuit d'Azur would do wonders for his chances.
Yeah, and I say when it comes to this point in the championship, there's not long left. There is another bit of contact. Mattia Krupi just into the rear end of Risto Capet once again, and yeah, he's got to be careful. Does Mattia Krupi, because if he gets it wrong, he'll spin out Risto Capet, and yeah, then race control will definitely step in.
Krupi was my driver of the day, I think, last time out at Donington, actually, just for that overtake at the penultimate corner at Donington, that double overtake at the inside line.
It was good.
It was one of my favorite overtakes of the entire season, I really have to say. I really, really enjoyed that one. It does seem things are going to be a little bit more difficult, as we've now got traffic starting to come into play. Somebody pulls off to the side. Who was that?
Falco, I believe, coming into the pit lane. So obviously a lot of earlier issues. Those that they'll be coming across now are those that have had some severe issues early on, and I would suspect if you have had severe issues earlier on, you're probably going to be more than happy to just jump out of the way. I hope so. Anyway.
One third race distance coming up very quickly here, actually, and Mattia Krupi still right behind. I'll tell you one thing that I haven't seen yet so far, Lewis. Let me know if you've seen it. Is I haven't seen the need for Risto Capet to deploy any push to pass at all at any point.
Yeah, he's not needed to go near the button right now. Mattia Krupi's used it a couple of times to try and get up to the rear end, particularly out of here. See if Risto, I was going to say Risto Capet with a not so great exit coming through Portier there. Felt the need just to press the button a little bit, just to build himself a little bit more of a comfortable gap. Again, a reminder that they have 45 seconds of push to pass to use over the entirety of the 45-minute race. Let's see what happened to Vincenzo Falco coming through the hairpin. Been there, done that.
That was that week we saw.
Yeah, I will say, if you've got your car set up too low, now obviously with the ground effect, your car to be set up quite nice and low to the road, but if you have it too low around here, well, you can imagine what happens, especially coming through the hairpin. Your car will essentially beach on itself, and it will understeer like crazy, especially going a little bit too quick, and that's definitely what happened with Vincenzo Falco there.
Yeah, suspension geometry and physics are a tough thing for anyone. Yeah, I don't do well with setting up cars and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's such an easy mistake to make, and anybody that has spent any serious amount of time in R Factor 2 building a setup or even using somebody else's setup will know the massive amount of difference that it can make from even one driver to another. Jimmy DeSula running very closely to the back of Joseph Perot, so close. Through the top of the hill into Casino. He's very, very close. You can tell he definitely is thinking about making a move, possibly just wanting to apply some pressure and force a little bit of a mistake. But of course, he's got a couple of cars right behind him, so he's going to be keen to get a move on here.
Yeah, he's got Lianos directly behind him, and then it's the teammate of the car ahead, Yuka Pekalalu, being in 11th position, but of course, sat in 14th is Casper Nizio, who've got to say, having a way better race around here. Casper Nizio was a driver that was a lap down. It was one that was kind of in the way when Darius Andre was coming through. Casper Nizio being right up there, having a super day, at least in the first third of this one, and hopefully that is not the commentator's curse, because I'd definitely like to see him get a decent result here.
Yeah, yeah, of course. This is a great opportunity to do that. It's such a unique circuit, so different compared to anything else. So it really is one of those tracks where somebody can be a bit of a specialist around here. And we've seen that in the real world. We've seen that in sim racing. We've seen that all throughout. But yeah, you really can be a bit of a specialist around here. You can see Nizio actually deploying a bit of push to pass, possibly thinking about taking that 13th place position if Jimmy DeSula can't get a move on here.
It's a tricky one. I don't know what like specialists around here. Yes, you'd say confidence and stuff. At the very, very top level, you don't see as many specialists, just purely based on the fact that it's a racetrack and they're just good wherever they go racing. Fair enough. Yeah, exactly. Whereas at this kind of level, where we're not quite at the tippy top, obviously there are the drivers that are able to fight at the front, and then they're the ones that will be making their way up to Formula Pro. Towards the back end of the top 10, maybe less so. There are some drivers that struggle around circuits, and there's some drivers that do very, very well around circuits like this. There is just something so enthralling from some drivers to be able to hook it up as close to the wall as possible. Like, especially on the exit here at Tabac. I used to hate Tabac. Absolutely despised it until one day when I got it right. And then every time you get it right, you're sort of like, oh, because you just follow that curvature all the way around the barrier. You're leaving millimeters out on the track. It is absolutely breathtaking.
Hugely rewarding. Yeah, right. Hugely rewarding when you get it right, and hugely punishing when you get it wrong is definitely the theme of Circuit d'Azur. But this group is now growing as more cars are starting to involve themselves on this one. Now, a train around Circuit d'Azur is going to be especially difficult to try to do anything. It's already quite difficult to pass, but factor in the fact that the car ahead is going to be picking up a little bit of slipstream now. And that's just going to complicate things even harder. So Jimmy DeSula is going to be the only car in this group that's going to have the easiest chance of possibly making an overtake here. And he is running rather close to the back of Lalu, but at the moment has not been able to find a way to go side by side. He's just gotten very, very close to the back end.
Yeah, Nizio. Oh, there's been a lot of curve there from Jimmy Nisula. From Nizio back. There's probably a bit of stress there, being like, oh, this train's growing growing concerningly so. Tell you one person who won't care about that one bit, Yukapeka Lalu, doesn't care. The only person he's trying to keep behind him is Jimmy Nisula, not the rest of the train. The rest of the train will sit there. They've got to do some extra work. There is only one car in this race right now that Yukapeka Lalu is caring about, and that is the driver who is very close and is on the button on the race up towards Saint Devote. Going to be a big, big dive to make it stick from there, thus proving it's quite difficult to pass. First corner's not really a good one because it's too light on the brakes, but up towards Massenet, this might be the opportunity for Jimmy Nisula, who's just gone into the back, and it's going to be a big crash. It's going to be a very big crash if they're not careful. Jimmy Nisula out towards the barrier. The two of them remain stationary, and that is a massive shame for Yukapeka Lalu, who no longer has a rear wing. That was just a mistake for Jimmy Nisula, who was way on the attack on the run towards Massenet. Pick the inside, man. That's all I can say on that one.
And Nisula had to stare into the eyes of his victim as well for a few seconds there.
That's rough.
That must have been an awkward couple of seconds. Even if he is just staring into a couple of pixels, I'm sure he could still feel that burning gaze and the frustration from the car ahead, who lost that rear wing and was facing the wrong direction. But Nisula will continue on in 16th position. He's actually not lost a massive amount of positions as a result of that. He's lost tons of time. Not a lot of damage to the car, though. He still has his front wing. But yeah, he's only down into 16th.
Obviously, as they come up and over the crest into Massenet, the front end of the car goes very, very light, and obviously he just tapped the rear end. At that point, if you make contact at the right moment, that is what sent Yukapeka Lalu around. It was just contact at the really, just literally the worst time possible. That's why I'm saying, if you're going to be that close, commit to the inside or outside. If you're going to try and brake later, don't try and brake into the car. Obviously, that's not what Jimmy Nisula was trying to do, but still, I know that he'll feel very bad after that one. Driver with an awful lot of respect towards his competitors in the Finn. Well, he'll be feeling fairly sheepish after that moment, but that's racing, and that is racing around the streets of the Circuit d'Azur. Those mistakes happen. I'm just amazed that they stayed out towards the wall and didn't come out in front of the rest of the train, which is exactly what I was expecting.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you on that one. As they started coming up the hill, I totally got the vibe that they were going to have some kind of accident. I didn't know who was going to cause it and where exactly they were going to be, but they were just so close to one another. And I think Nisula was just getting so desperate as well after being behind for so long. And yeah, I think you're right. Just a little bit late on the brakes there. The car going light at the top of the hill, as you said. And there they go, just staring right at each other for a couple of seconds. You sit there and you think about what you did.
Yeah, as you come up and over the crest, essentially for Massenet, you want to brake after the crest, right? Because if you brake before the crest, you're braking over the crest, and that's where the weight is just everywhere, and it's not fun. If you brake, you come over the crest and then brake, that's the ideal strategy. Now, I will say, Yuka Lalu, it's not me trying to criticise him at all and say it's his fault, it's not, was braking before the crest. Joseph Hurlock is out of the race from 10th position, so clearly there's been more drama for the Jean Lacey Esports Academy team because Hurlock is also out. They've already had the other two cars making contact and having issues, and there's been more issues for the camp. They've got one bullet left in the gun, really, and that's Mattia Creepy is the second. I'm not sure what's happened there.
It sounds like Hurlock left or lost connection or something. So yeah, I don't think we have a beautiful accident to show where carbon fiber is being shed and sparks going up into the air and all that kind of wonderful stuff. It sounds like he just kind of ended, which is yeah. It sounds like he was at the hairpin. And then just ended up back at the pits. Oh, you can see the inside wheel locking up there as he just loses that little bit of grip. As the R Factor 2 simulation doing wonders there to figure out exactly how much the wheel is contacting the ground as they make their way through that right-hander of Mirabeau. But Mattia Krupi did lose a ton of time as a result of that. But yeah, really feeling for Hurlock on that one.
Yeah, like I say, don't really know what happened. Sometimes you might classify it as a general RQ, a rage quit. Doubt it. I would highly doubt it in that scenario, purely based on the fact he was inside the top 10. There was no reason for him to have pulled over and escaped. Some potential, like you say, disconnection. Could have been something on the computer side of things. Do not know, and hopefully we'll have an answer fairly soon. But either way, big shame for Hurlock, who's, like I said, had great pace this season, had that pole position at Daytona, was looking decent, at least for a top 10 here today. Not going to get anything from it.
We're past the halfway point. I sort of can't even believe that happened.
Yeah,
I totally missed that milestone when it went by, but we are indeed past the halfway mark, coming up to 20 minutes remaining, and this pack continues to be an incredible source of entertainment. Eros Mashuli trying to find a way around the outside into the penultimate corner. Now he's trying to find a way through the inside, through the final corner. He's willing to give it absolutely anything in a little bit of a sandwich as he stands right now, trying to get past Vach with Stepkowski right behind him. And having to worry a little bit more about his mirrors rather than the car ahead as he gets into turn one. Hangs on to P13 for the meantime, but he's another one that I think might be starting to get a little desperate.
Yeah, that's, I mean, Eros Masuli's had his fair share of experience in open wheelers over the last, when was the last time I saw him racing in open wheelers? Probably about 7 or 8 years ago. An exceptionally experienced driver, including racing around the streets here at the Circuit d'Azur, and really felt like going for something there up towards the final corner in anti-nodes, but you got to be super brave to do it. I'm not sure it was fully on. But this is the thing, you said before, halfway through the race already, these drivers, you've been sat generally behind the same driver for the last 25 minutes. You're starting to get sick of that car directly ahead. You're starting to get hungry to get past, starting to feel like you're the faster driver. And as the race goes on, you can be enticed by silly things as Eros Masuli misses the second chicane coming through the swimming pool section.
That was very well demonstrated by Eros Mashuli there, just showing exactly what can happen after getting a little frustrated by staring at the same rear wing for over 20 minutes of racing around Circuit d'Azur. Yeah, just a small mistake for him there. I don't think that would have incurred any major penalties, but oh my goodness, that was an interesting one for, I think that was Nizio, just making contact with the barrier there, climbing up the hill. Could have been just a connection issue. It might have been one of those things where we saw him touch the wall, but in fact he didn't actually touch the wall. But Eros Mashuli now back on the attack as he gets right up to the back of Vach.
Just been told as well as to what's happened with Joseph Hurlock. His internet went down, simple as that. Bit of a shame. I was told that he might have been on Wi-Fi, at which point I would have laughed mid-broadcast on him. But alas, it is not the case. He is cabled in, and unfortunately the internet just dropped out. Big shame there for Joseph Herlock. Yeah, I don't really know what really to say about that. That's just super rough, and a big shame for the John Lacey Esports Academy. We're up to 4 retirements from this race at the circuit as York, much less than we were expecting.
Was that Nizio making contact at the outside of Tabak at the exit of the corner? I think it may have been, because it seems like Mashuli and Vach both got a lot closer through Tabak, and I thought I saw a bit of a weird bump as he got to the exit. So could this potentially be, you can see Nizio feeling the need to deploy some push-to-pass, Vach using some push-to-pass as well. Can he get close enough on the run down towards the first corner? No, he's going to have to hang back for the meantime, and he's not going to be close enough to do anything into Massenet or Casino either. But he's going to be another one that's definitely going to be really keen to try and get by. You can really see Nizio is struggling.
I mean, I'm fully with you. We saw him basically potentially brush the wall on the run up towards Massenet. We saw him tap the wall at the back. I'm pretty sure he tapped the wall on the exit of the swimming pool section as well. So not a good lap from Casper Nizio, and he is really feeling the pressure from Tomasz Vach. Is there going to get any push to pass used? Yes, from both Nizio and Vach. So on the run through the tunnel, you can see Nizio is under a lot of pressure. But again, same as it was when it was Yimi Nisler behind Yuka Pekalali. For Yuka Pekalali, the only driver that he had to worry about was the car directly behind. It is the same for his teammate in Casper Nizio. The only car that Casper Nizio has to worry about, it's not the likes of Eros Mashuli or Stepkovsky or anyone like that. It is just that car behind. What has happened to Silver Joffa.
Oh.
Ooh, that is why you don't brake before the crest. I can tell you that.
Yep. Yeah. You could see that one. He's just making his way back to the pits. Oh, and somebody's up his inside, and that's just going to lose him even more time. There was another car coming up behind him as well. That's going to be a frustrating one as Nizio deploying some more push to pass, really desperately wants to try to stay ahead, because I assume, like most racing drivers, he knows if he loses one position to Tomasz Vach, he's going to lose another position to Mashuli. He's going to lose another position to Stepkovsky. It's just going to, become a runaway effect, where he's going to get put offline by the first person that goes side by side with him, and that's going to put another car alongside him. And it's just the corners are so relentless at the Circuit des Azurs that you cannot even afford to go side by side, because otherwise you're just going to lose yourself so much time and come under threat from even more drivers.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Essentially, as soon as one person starts to go through, the entire contingent behind things, a Black Friday sale, and absolutely try and send it in there. Because it's like, oh, quick, I can get one as well. And that is when things get very, very leery indeed. But we'll have to wait and see. Casper Nizio is doing a great job again. Said before, has done a great job in qualifying. Was running in 14th a bit earlier on in the race. Currently runs in 11th position after obviously the incident at the top of the hill for the disconnect as well. For Joseph Herlock, moves his way up. Bit of smoke coming out of Eros Mashuli's car, which certainly wouldn't be ideal. Half hour into the race. Mattia Creepy's engine's gone. Mattia Creepy's engine's gone right in front of Turka Hakkinen as well as Christian Mikel comes through. And look at this from, oh my goodness, Paul Auguste-Lana comes through and grabs both. The smoke was coming out of Mattia Creepy's car. Now I wonder, obviously Darius Andre's not in it, so fair enough, he's already out of the race. But I wonder for those drivers, the likes of Eros Mashuli, are we expecting retirement from these drivers that were smoking earlier on in the race?
Very interesting stuff. Paul Auguste-Lana there, very opportunistic, by the way, grabbing a couple of positions as a result of that slow-moving car. That was very, very clever. 200 IQ stuff there from Paul Auguste-Lana. Of course, missing his teammate Darius Andre, wishing that he was with him. But Paul Auguste-Lana moving up into a podium position and ahead of the current championship leader with a sizable gap ahead as well. So he can really push to his heart's content. He's got lots of clean air up the road. And I don't expect he's going to be coming into the pits. I don't expect anybody is going to be making any planned pit stops at all at this point.
This race is an almost guaranteed no stop, especially for the likes of Risto Capet, for Philip Dries, for Christian Mikel, for Turka Hakkinen, for those that have done no stops already in the season. Got to say, big shame for Turka Hakkinen to have just come through. Came through this point. It was like, oh, hang on, there's a car there. Whoops. As of course Matthew Creeper was trying to get off the road, but it was just in the way. And Paul Auguste-Lana says, okay, do you know what? Don't really just fancy a top 5. Why not a podium? Van Boekus also out of the race. we're seeing the list being added to at the moment. It seems, though, Justin, as though a lot of cars are running very, very tight on the cooling around the second of June, because they're trying to find every 100, every 1,000th they can. If they can afford to stick another couple on the radiator, they will. And it's going to be very tight indeed.
And that could be the reason why we're seeing so much smoking past the start. And here is the replay.
Oh, Rory McDuff getting pushed out of the way from Yellow Binsbergen. Oh, and just staying side by side. Super effort down to the hairpin. Bit of contact between the two. Does Yellow Binsbergen get through? Just about. Rory McDuff is still trying to hang it around the outside. Gets squeezed off into the barrier, and Yellow Binsbergen is through. But, I mean, you don't get too much side by side around here. Are they going to remain side by side in the tunnel? Rory McDuff, oh my goodness me, super racy this afternoon.
Really impressive, does not want to give that one up. He's still pushing him through as they make their way through the chicane. You get the idea that he would have had to go into Tabac if he had a chance, but I really would not want to be side by side through Tabac at any speed, honestly. And yeah, now this battle, all of a sudden, this battle for 11th position is now the battle for 9th position. And Thomas Bach still having a really hard time finding a way past Nizio, who is doing a really good job of holding on to that position. He's been using a good amount of push to pass as a result of that, so he may find it more difficult to defend this position as we get closer and closer to the end of the race, but really tight group of cars right here.
Yeah, he's been a bit liberal with it, shall we say. By the way, with Rory McDuff and Yellow Binsbergen, I'm not sure if that was for position. That's the thing, because if you see there on the tower, Rory McDuff is in 16th and not around anywhere. So yeah. I'm not sure. Well, Yellow Binsbergen's out of the race. I don't know if there's been more. Maybe he popped his engine. Don't know. I'm 95% sure that was Rory McDuff, and I'm definitely sure that was Yellow Binsbergen. But either way, the two of them putting on a bit of a show here, as is this train indeed. Caspaniccio's too deep though into Anthony Nose. This could be Thomas Bach's best opportunity, and you can see that he's on the button as they race their way. Caspaniccio reacts, coming up towards Santa Bot. But it is Thomas Bach still behind. We know how this went last time for Super Venturi when they had a car right behind them. It's going to be super close to Thomas Bach. Which way does he go? Oh, nearly put into the barrier. Had to lift out of it as the circuit snakes its way up towards Massenet. Nizio doing everything that he needed to. Basically just sat in the middle of the road, darting his way between the barriers. And Thomas Bach had nowhere to go.
Terrifying stuff. Really, really scary to try and overtake climbing up that hill. Even in R Factor, it's terrifying. Never mind in real life. So really, really impressive stuff there. Thomas Bach giving it absolutely everything. It does manage to avoid running into the back of that car ahead, which was pretty impressive stuff. I thought he was just going to go for it. I thought we were going to see the same overtake attempt that we saw from Jimmy Nisula, but Thomas Bach, a little bit better line there through the chicane. Is he going to have a run into Tabak? Surely he's not going to think about it. No, he stays back. He stays behind for the meantime. But there's just one more mistake from Nizio there that's going to be telling Thomas Bach, I really need to try and get by here.
The thing is with Tabak, you start braking so late. You're essentially, you brake, you turn in, and you downshift in one movement. You know, it's it's all part of the flow. It's way, unless you're alongside leaving the Nivelle chicane, there is no way to make that one stick before. There is Christian Mikel on the rear end of Paul Auguste Lana, who is straight on the button heading through the tunnel. He's feeling a little bit of pressure from Christian Mikel directly behind. No move though coming down into the chicane. And so Paul Augustano is able to hang on. Turco Hakkinen, I do believe, has a little bit of damage because he's dropped back into the clutches of Valeriano in 5th position. And obviously, Hakkinen was originally at the front of Christian Mikel, and then Paul Augustano. The trio were running around in 3rd, 4th and 5th with Hakkinen leading. And Hakkinen, it was 4th, 5th and 6th, wasn't it? But Hakkinen dropped right off the rear end.
Yeah, I think you're right about that one. Paul Augustano playing a little bit more push to pass. Just wants to defend from Christian Mikel. He does that quite well, quite effectively. There is a car up the road. Yes, that is some lap traffic that's going to have to get out of the way because that's definitely not Philip Dreiss ahead of Paul Augustana there, making their way through Casino and down towards Mirabeau. Not much time remaining in this race, less than 10 minutes to go, and Christian Mikel desperately wants to get back into that podium position.
See, oh my goodness, who was that? Was that I felt like it was Cetrus Bellic's car, but no, it wasn't. It was the teammate of Valeriano, I believe. I'm not sure. Either way, just coming through the back of the shot. That was giving me an awful lot of panic. I just saw yellow. I was like, wait, hang on a second. I thought we were looking at Christian Mikel. But no, we're perfectly safe at the moment. Still third position being held by Paul Auguste Lana. But nearly 10 seconds off the rear end of Philip Dries, who is 2 seconds off the rear end of Risto Capet, who is just having a cruise in the sunshine here in the virtual south of France. Now, let's say you, Justin, let's say you're Christian Mikel. You're the championship leader at the moment. You might be losing the championship lead, but all you really need is the top 3 in the championship to start fighting for those Formula Pro seats, although you do really want to be the champion of the series. Christian Mikel, do you risk anything to try and get past Paul Auguste Lana right now?
I would apply the pressure and try and force a mistake, but I certainly wouldn't be trying to go side by side into Massenet or anything like that. But yeah, no, try and force him into a mistake. See if you can find a way. Maybe traffic can play a role potentially. You might be able to sneak through when traffic comes into play. There's a few options like that, but I would definitely go the safe route. Christian Mikel, yeah, you're right. He is going to be losing the lead if Risto Capet wins this race, which is looking like he will do. But yeah, I would play it safe. Go for a move, apply the pressure. When it comes, if it comes. But I wouldn't be forcing the issue too hard.
You know what I'd do? Wouldn't even do that. I wouldn't even get anywhere near the rear end of Paul Auguste Lana's car. I wouldn't try and force the issue purely because I'd be like, if you're going to have a crash, I'm probably going to be involved in it. I'm going to sit off the rear end of you and I'm going to let you do your thing. Let's see what happens to Matty Creepy. This is where the engine went. It goes in such an awkward spot because right now, I mean, yes, you could say you could pull it over to the right side or go straight on. He's trying to work out what's gone on. Another issue on the engine from Kostas Van Vukas, who was running inside the top 10 as well. That one was a much easier spot for him to actually deal with it at that point. And Jelle Binsbergen did catch up in chat. A very important potato. That one is Jelle Binsbergen. And he did say coming out of the corner after the hairpin, he had a bit of a spin and into the barrier and then felt actually that's probably enough for today. I respect that in a sense. It's being like, I know my own limits and I know what is safe not only for me but for everyone else in circuit. I'm done. That'll be me.
With the colour of the rear wing, would you call him Yellow Binsbergen?
He does have the best looking John Lacey Esports Academy car, so I'll call him whatever he wants. I'd even call him a very important potato on broadcast. So, each to their own on that one. Do love a bit of Binsbergen. He's a good lad, but that's a bit of a shame, though. Bit of a shame.
Yeah, big time. Feel for that one for sure. Stepkowski, I saw deploying a bit of push to pass, just trying to close up to the back of Eros Mashuli, who is on the back of Thomas Bach, who is still following behind Nizio, who is, by the way, really not falling off the back of Lianos, for example, up ahead. Still only about 4 seconds, so it's not even like he's running slowly or anything. Nizio is putting in some good pace. Oh, I saw both Dries and Christian Mikel deploying some push to pass, so I think things are getting a little bit more exciting up at the front.
Yeah, I think Philip Dries is just using it because he's bored, to be perfectly honest. Here's something that's been happening, though. Thomas Bach was on an awkward line on the exit of the hairpin, and there was a look from Eros Mashuli. Thomas Bach has dropped off the rear end. It's Vincenzo Falco, so that's the fastest lap of the race. Obviously, been into pit lane fairly recently to pick up some fresh tyres. Vincenzo Falco, so that's the fastest lap of the race. Cool. Good effort from him, I suppose. The front wing as well on the middle of the straight. Got to make sure with debris as well. Don't drive into debris. No. You might be enticed to think, oh, well, it probably won't make damage to the car or whatever. Yeah, it will. It'll break your car if you're not careful. Stay away from it.
Yeah, especially with less than 5 minutes remaining. It's worth a tenth or half a tenth or something like that. Really wouldn't mess with it too hard. Christian Mikel, I think just up the road, I saw deploying a bit of push to pass at the entrance of the tunnel. This is Thomas Bach, still again getting frustrated by Nizio up ahead, and a bit of lap traffic involved as well. As Paul August Lana defending from Christian Mikel, they're very close in proximity. Valeriano going for attack on Hakkinen.
Yeah, Tech Agnew is having a bit of a struggle, of course, after the damage has been assisted. Here comes Christian Mikel. Oh, my goodness, the championship leader trying to make something stick around the outside of Paul Auguste Lana. Taps the inside wall coming through Casino. And all of that talk we were having earlier is complete rubbish because Christian Mikel, he is charging. He looks to the inside of the head, but it's going to be way too tight. Potentially makes contact with the Volante racing car around the outside and heavily into the barrier. Christian Mikel is lucky to still be in the race, but he's still on the attack. He's settling not for fourth, but for third. To the outside of the tunnel, around the outside he goes, makes it stick before they head into the braking zone of the Nivelle chicane, as it is carnage at the back end of the top 10.
Yeah, the run up to Massenet, something has happened in that battle for 9th position. That Nizio train that was going on as Mancini using a bit of push to pass, but Paul August Lana dropping down into 4th position. There is a car missing a front wing. That's definitely going to be a problem for Christian Mikel and Paul August Lana as the Volante racing car pulls right up to the back of Christian Mikel on the back end, stepping out as they come down the start-finish straight, and neither driving using some push to pass. They may be out at this stage.
Yeah, it was Cino Via, by the way. He was using a front wing and a rear wing, and he's still out on the track. He's staying out. Here's Tomasz Bak, though, going side by side, coming down. They've both got damaged cars. You can see that from Eros Masuli. No front wing. Jimmy Nisler is that satellite racing car that's just on the rear end in 12th position. They'll both be clearing Eros Masuli fairly soon because he'll have to come into the pit lane. But what does Tomasz Bak do is they close their way up into the swimming pool section. We'll take a look at a replay. There was a moment up ahead with one of the back markers. Not sure which one that was, right in front of Eros Masuli, and the rest of them having to pay the bill. But Eros Masuli staying out without a front wing. Now, I'm not sure what the ruling is on that, but I'm pretty sure it's not great.
Yeah, I mean, they do get a lot of downforce from the ground effects.
Oh, Masuli, what are you doing, mate?
He just barely manages to make that corner, but the fact that he's still defending that position, truly incredible stuff, really surprising.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of it, if I'll be perfectly honest. I mean, Nisler, I believe, has got through at Massenet. I get it, you know, you've not got a front wing. You still want to try and hang on to whatever points you can, but absolutely lobbing it down the inside into Sandoval, I would suggest, is probably not the smartest move that Eros Masuli has made in his long career in sim racing. Tomasz Bak, by the way, and Eros Masuli, I believe, made contact because Bak was right on the rear end of Eros Masuli, and he dropped behind Jimmy Nisler down to 13th position going through the swimming pool section. This is Philip Dries, who is well within a second of Risto Capet. Again, we're not speaking of DRS on a day like this. We are speaking of a potential lunge, or a potential something from Philip Dries if he's feeling needy in the Need Racing car.
I can't believe Jimmy Nisler has managed to get back up ahead of Masuli and Bak. I mean, obviously, that's with a bit of assistance. But, yeah, Philip Dries getting very, very close to the back of Risto Capet in the penultimate lap. There is going to be one more lap after this one. They'll definitely cross the finish line with 45 seconds to go as they make their way into the swimming pool section for the penultimate time in this race. And I saw a lot of push-to-pass usage coming out from Philip Dries. I don't know how much Risto Capet still has remaining, but I didn't see that push-to-pass graphic popping up next to his name very much recently. So we'll see how much he has in the tank.
Yeah, going to see potentially a fair amount of push-to-pass being used over it. Might as well just switch it on for the whole lap from Risto Capet. There is Cino Via trying to do an entire lap without a front or rear wing. And I've got to say, if there's a circuit around the world where I wouldn't want to do a lap without a front or rear wing, it would be here around the circuit d'Azur. But good effort to Cino. He's normally used to racing cars with a lot less downforce than these, so maybe it's back to form in that sense, racing in GTs.
I have to say, the car missing the front and rear wing like that, the car does look really, it looks like Pinocchio in car form or something like that. It is a very strange looking machine. Through into the tunnel for the final time for Philip Dries. He's so close. There's the push to pass from Risto Capet, deploying heaps of it through the tunnel to ensure that there is no attack into the Nivelle chicane for the final time in this race.
Yeah, looking very, very strong indeed. Risto Capet looking to become the first two-time winner of the season, to make it a third victory for RHG. They had a great round at Donington Park in Formula Pro as well. Marcel Cinchik dominating on that day. Things are all coming their way in RHG's form. But is this race going to go? And Philip Dries has one more opportunity up towards Anthony Notes. He's going to keep his distance. And Risto Capet, the Estonian, departs the final corner to take victory here at the Circuit d'Azur. It's Risto Capet once again in Formula Challenge as he'll take over the top of the standings. Philip Dries behind. Christian Mikel marched his way up into third position with a super late move. He is really putting on a display as he approaches his final race for the Setchesnita Velix team. Paul Auguste Lana potentially driver of the day, gotta be said. Super effort for 4th place. Turka Häkkinen is going to hold on from Valeriano as the rest of them will come across the line. Less retirements than we were expecting, but the final 5 minutes can only be described as a little bit of carnage.
That 2nd place is huge for Philip Dries as well, too. Remember, coming into this, he was 9 points behind Sandra Callas. So I think Philip Dries is going to be moving into the top 3 as a result of this finish.
No better time to do it than right now. Of course, you know, we're heading into the final stage of this championship. Just one more round left to go in the Formula Challenge Series. And again, it is the top 3 in the standings that will be going into the relegation race against the bottom 2 teams from Formula Pro, as they'll battle their way out for those final couple of spots in Formula Pro in 2022. Eros Masuli will come across the line in 13th position with no front wing. Again, not a massive fan of it, but you know, if he can stay out, he'll stay out. Race Control, again, we've got to remember, Race Control will be taking a look at everything they can. The results are definitely not final.
No, yeah, everything is very provisional, as it is with, you know, pretty much every form of motorsport. Just because the checkered flag has fallen does not mean that is the final order that the cars and drivers will appear in. But we'll report that information as we get it, and hopefully it won't be too bad for them today, because you know, as you said, coming into this, certainly I expected more retirements than this. So actually, I'm quite surprised by the cleanliness of this race.
I can't remember what mine was. I said 11, didn't I? Well,
you did.
We open with it now. I said a level could be 11 finishes. Not 11 11 finishes. What was you on? Was you say 12 or 10?
I said 10.
You said 10. There we go. We definitely had more than that. So clearly, we need to stop being so pessimistic. Risto Capit then would win the race ahead of Philip Dries and Christian Michael on the podium. Paul Auguste Lana with a superb drive to 4th position, and Turka Häkkinen to round out the top 5. Valeriano Mancini with that late improvement in qualifying. It's kind of a bit alone today for the Musto GD Esports team. Giannis Lianis in 8th position with Casper Nizio, super drive for the Super Venturi team, and Daniel Stepkowski rounding out the top 10. Plenty of finishes behind it. I think we end up having 18 or 19 finishes at the end of it. A couple of issues late on. We'll just say already one penalty to confirm from Race Control. Silva Joffa would receive a 10-second time penalty for a post-race incident with Tomasz Vak. It kind of wanted, for the incident rather. It was a 10 seconds time penalty post-race for that incident with Tomasz Vak. I'll correct myself. That'll be the one at T1. Is what it is. Sometimes it's very easy to trip up over the entire pack that's racing its way around.
I honestly expected more retirements from collisions, contact with the barrier, contact with each other, all of that kind of stuff. I was a little bit surprised by the number of retirements that were engine related. I didn't think that was going to be such a problem as it was today. Certainly that wasn't anything that I was prepared for or envisioning, but it really seems that it was difficult conditions out there in terms of just maintaining the engine and taking care of the car and making sure you're getting to the end in a healthy machine. And it really highlights the job that the drivers who finished the race did today.
Also with the engine, I think there's 2 major factors in there. Number 1, might have been a little bit hotter in air temperature than was expected. And number 2, there was a very long hold at the start of the race that might have just increased them a little bit more. Either way, it's been an incredible 45-minute race that we should definitely take a look at some of those fantastic highlights to see Risto Capit taking yet another win. You can see very long hold on the grid, and that is what caused some of the issues throughout the race. Valeriano would try and get around the outside of Christian Michael into the first one. Michael making a move around the outside of Paul Auguste Lana. The 2 of those would battle it out much later on in the race. Daniel Brantom on the hard tyre, the only driver to take the Greenwald hard tyre, would struggle his way down towards Mirabeau. Darius Andre having a bit of a moment with the wall and then being hit by a couple of the John Lacey Esports Academy cars. He'd retire himself from the race. A bit of a shame as they'd all shuffle their way over. Rory McDuff with a big move around the outside, but he gets sent out into the barrier, just asking a little bit too much to the rear of the car. car, and guess who's there? Yep, another one of those John Lacey Esports Academy cars just waiting for him. Yimi Nisler into the rear end of Yuka-Pekka Lalu up towards Massenet. An easy mistake to make for the Finn. He had to wait just a little bit, staring into the eyes of the driver that he just hit off. Silver Joffert with a couple of moments, including this one here, braking a little bit, just going over the crest and sent straight into the barrier with a bit of an overcorrection. He'd try and return his way into pit lane, and Jelle Binsbergen trying to get his way past. We'll get alongside before Silver Joffert was able to drive his way back into the pit lane. Speaking of Jelle Binsbergen, speaking of Rory McDuff, speaking of some side-by-side racing, the two of them putting on a bit of a show around these streets of the Circuit d'Azur, just trying to get their way around the very tricky hairpin. Rory McDuff trying to get around the outside before they get into Portier, and Jelle Binsbergen will be up into 18th position before a big dive from Rory McDuff. He looked to the inside coming through the Nivelle chicane and wasn't able to do so. Mattia Krupi, though, big drama, running second in the race. The engine blew up and he would retire from the race. Not before, though, a little bit of drama was left. He'd remain on the circuit just as Turkka Hakkinen was coming through. It would cause them all to switch around. This towards the back end of the top 10 as Silver Joffert just ahead of the 9th place group coming through. Eros Masudi making a costly mistake, but at the front of the field, Philip Dries was able to close up to our race leader, but not to get through. Risto Capit winning another time here in Formula Challenge after a super bulletproof drive. Okay, that's fine. No, I was just wondering if that was on my end. Never mind.
Nope.
Well, I did that at the start of the season. You can do it at the final round. I'll allow it.
But I was a bit surprised about that car almost flipping off into the water at one point, coming out of Santa Boat. I did actually miss that the first time that it happened. But as you said, incredible performance from Risto Capit today. Really controlled the race from the very start. There was a little brief moment there where we thought Philip Dries might be able to challenge him in the closing stages of the race. But in the end, he had it all very under control.
Well, I mean, next time out we'll be racing at the legendary Laguna Seca. Somewhere very, very different than here, of course, at the Circuit d'Azur. What a circuit it is. So much history in the world of motorsport. Recently added to the R Factor 2 platform, and what a circuit it is. Legendary corners like the corkscrew. They'll all be battling their way through time and time again in the season finale of the Formula Challenge Series. That'll be underway in 2 weeks. I can't wait for it. Who's going to be in that top 3? Who's going to be our second season of Formula Challenge champion?
I think it's going to be really interesting, especially because this is a new track, the laser scan version coming to R Factor 2 recently and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be an interesting one to see how the drivers tackle it. Also, one of the best overtaking locations is also one of the most dangerous parts of the entire circuit, which I'm sure will provide some fantastic entertainment.
Yeah, we'll have to wait, though, 2 weeks before we go racing in Monterey, California. Before we go there, though, of course, we'll be returning to the streets of the Circuit d'Azur. Formula Pro returns in 1 week time, and that'll be a thrilling fight. I have absolutely no doubt. Marcel Chinchik taking the race victory and the start of the second half of the season back in Donington Park. Can he do it again? Can someone else jump their way into the mix? Is it going to be a day for Mercedes? Who knows? Until then, though, I've been Lewis McGlade. Justin Sutton's been alongside. We'll get ready for the season finale in a couple of weeks' time. Hopefully, you can join us then. Until then, though, have a very warm goodbye.